everyone. I just want to introduce to you one of my faves on LinkedIn and in general, and it's Rich Cardona. And you've seen him on LinkedIn everywhere, but Rich, please introduce yourself and your business so everyone can get to know you.
It's so good to reconnect with you. I'm so glad we're back on LinkedIn and you're doing these. But hey, everyone, my name's Rich. I'm a retired Marine. I went to Amazon for a couple years, hated it. Uh, I loathed it. I white knuckled my way to work all the time. And then I quit after I discovered this guy named Gary Vee. He didn't directly influence me, but had a big part in it. And I decided to just go after entrepreneurship. And that sounds like a completely vague goal, and it was. But I was able to, look through what inspired me, what I was curious about, and landed on a media company that focuses on video branding for executives. And that's what I do. And I also have a podcast, Leadership Locker, which I absolutely love. It's for veteran entrepreneurs, small business owners, because if Brittany and I just gave each other advice the whole time, no one would learn shit. So that's why I have influencers and industry experts on, so we could get it straight, so we could kind of accelerate our thing. We all want the fast forward button. So that's the goal for that.
Absolutely. So you brought up Amazon, but at first I wanted to touch, kind of the difference between what you've seen in military Marine culture compared to corporate. I mean, even before we get into your business.
Yeah. So it's funny. So my wife's a veteran, an Army veteran, and it's funny. I didn't realize I was a military spouse too. It was like so male thinking. It's so stupid of me. I was like, oh, I'm a military spouse. That's what's up. So anyway, she did not have a good experience necessarily. Part of it is because she was a woman, and part of it was because she just didn't really have exceptional leaders. I had exceptional leaders. So it set the bar so high for me that I was like in no man's land when I got out. So that was one huge disparity for me. So I know you asked for similarities, but that was like unbelievably impactful on why I wasn't happy where I was, is because I didn't have anyone to look up to. But when I was in my squadron or multiple of my commands, I was like, so-and-so's amazing. Like I want to level up, like always made you want to level up. And that's one thing I got out of the military a lot. As far as similarities, if any, it's just really not. For as many things as we dislike about our respective military services while we're in them, we learn to appreciate them a lot when we get out. There is something about the structure. There is something about the rigidity. There is something about the mission that allows you to kind of plow through and grow. And you grow professionally and personally, but I think at a rate that you just couldn't do as a civilian. I know, I promise you, if I went to college and then went straight into a job, I would not have grown nearly as much, and nearly as fast and nearly as deep. So that's huge for me, but that's one thing. And I have talked about expectation management, but you have to really consider the fact that a lot of the people that you will work with in the future when you get out, or if you're already out, are probably not going to be up to par, maybe not have the same work ethic, maybe not have the same character or values. And look, we're all flawed as hell too. I mean, like, give me a break. Like, we make a ton of mistakes, but when it comes to like being in a work environment, there's just certain things I think we come to expect of ourselves and the people around us. And that can be a little bit disorienting when you find yourself around people who don't have the same ambition or work ethic.
I can imagine. And I've heard things about Amazon's culture because I have a few friends who work there, and it's a lot of, and it kind of reminded me of the military, do more with less. That's the mentality there.
One of their principles is frugality. And, and frugality means, can you handle some more? Can you handle some more? It means your shift is done at 5, you're there past 6, and you get a phone call at 10 regularly. That's what it is. So it's a hustle culture. And look, there is an aspect of the blue collarness that I eventually was like, I literally used to wear my Marine Corps boots, and I'd never wear shorts, and I'd never wear t-shirts. I wore like a button-up shirt, jeans, or like kind of khaki pants, not khaki, but like Dickies, right? Like those kind of pants, and my boots. I always wore my hat, and I'm like, I'm in the zone. I'm not coming up sloppy in gym shorts and like my shitty sneakers and whatever, and then just coming like whatever. I'm going to be in a warehouse all day. I'd come like ready to operate. So I kind of adopted back to kind of like my enlisted days a little bit, some of that like just like execution mentality. And there was a part that attracted a lot of people and it allowed for success. But look, man, like the culture, at least in my experience, was like always wanted more, always wanted more, always wanted more, always wanted more. Next day, next meeting, here's something else we need. Oh, what about this? You just prioritized this yesterday. No, we need this. And it was so around the numbers and productivity. And look, you don't get to be the biggest company in the world by not thinking like that. But at the same time, the human element, which is obviously a lot of what this podcast is about, is like, how happy are you when you go to work? Like, do you really want to get to that? Do you really want that next promotion? Like you're gunning for it because you think it'll make you feel good, but you're inside a company and that means something to you because of what it means to them, but doesn't mean anything to you. And it's just one of those things where it's like, sorry about this. One of you guys are flying right above my house right now. but it's just one of those things where it's very, very easy to get burnt out, and you give a mile, you give an inch and they will take the mile, at least in my experience. Okay.
Mhm.
But it was never ending. And you could easily just be as work obsessed as I was and still believe like, what more can I do? So you beat them to the punch.
And you're just, like you said, super burnout. And like even my experience in the military, and you can speak to this as a previous aviator as well. Even when I was a maintainer on aircraft, it was like that. Your sortie's got to go up, and you're just go, and then it's like you get maybe all these jets ready, and you're going to go, and it's something else. It's something else, and it's never ending. But I felt the difference was when I had really amazing leadership, they made us want to grind out that shit.
Yes.
As opposed to if we had shitty leadership, or let me rephrase that, crappy management, because they're not leaders.
I thought you were gonna take out the shitty. I'm like, what? I'm like, I already swore. I thought this was like not G-rated. Come on.
No, PG-13 minimum.
Yeah.
Especially now we're talking maintenance, aircraft maintenance.
Yeah.
I gotta get back to my roots.
Yep.
So, like when I had bad management in aviation, like I could have done the same amount of, busting our ass, but I wanted to do more for my awesome leadership. They just incentivized us better because they had a way to polish a turd that just made it sound better.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to let down those people, right? Like if I'm inspired by you, I'm going to bust my ass because I want you to be proud of me. And I want you to know that I understand that at some point I'm going to be in a position to do what you're going to do, and you're going to help me get there by unfucking me, right? Like, I mean, like, and that's the thing. Like, that was like one of those things, man. Like, if I want to be like Colonel Moore, like, what can I do? Like, damn, like, he's the first guy here. I can't let that happen. Like, this guy, I'm like, I'm going to have to get up earlier every day because I wanted to show him, right? Like, if I was the first face he saw every day, he would remember that.
True.
Right? It's one of those things where you want to make these people proud. And that was, I wanted to do I didn't want to make people proud where I was afterwards, at Amazon. I wanted just to be seen and recognized for hard work, but it wasn't the same, right? Like it's very, very different. So yeah, I think you hit a good point there with, happy management versus like amazing leadership.
Yeah, I do. And that's something I really, like you said, miss from the military is awesome leadership compared to the corporate world. It's been harder to find mentors or people just, to aspire to.
Yeah.
But now that you are a CEO and your business is booming, I wanted to ask you, how do you keep the momentum going within your culture? You guys are always traveling, the whole COVID thing, you guys have been remote at one point. Like, how have you kept the momentum going?
This has been the most significant leadership challenge I've had, by far, because you're writing the rule book. Like you are framing the company and the business. A lot of times, when you went in the Air Force, when I went in the Marine Corps, we're coming into something that's established, right? Like for the most part, it's going to be the same as it was for someone who came in 4 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever.
Right.
for a business. If I go into a business, like I'm just literally getting like, dropped into it. And there's a lot of things that already exist that you just kind of adapt to.
Mhm.
And you're malleable. You just like, you're like, okay, I got it. But when you're creating it, it's a completely different story because as we said right before we started recording, I'm thinking about how much more I can do and how much I haven't done all at the same time. And then it's like marketing, and then I'm thinking money, and then I'm thinking content, and then I'm thinking, travel, and then I'm thinking payroll, then I'm thinking fuck. So, so oh, and by the way, how do I make sure my people really, really know that I actually care? I can't see them. I can't go walk down the hallway to their office or anything like that.
Right.
So is saying like, thank you so much for that hard work, trying to say that on a daily basis on Slack enough? Like, fuck, not to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know what else. Like Christmas gifts, okay, cool. Like thoughtful Christmas gifts, like not like a gift card. Yeah, hopefully. Like one of my videographers is obsessed with Godzilla, and I got him this shirt. He's like, best gift ever. I'm like, cool. Like I'm showing you I know you, but that's not enough. So how do you keep people in it? Look, like this is one of the hardest things. As someone who is obsessive about work culture, you know and appreciate that. I really believe that number one, the key to a great organization is the work culture, but the culture can only exist. It can only exist not by a set of systems and processes that are easy to follow and really help with productivity. The culture is what determines the buy-in, and the only way the buy-in happens is if there's a culture, right? Like that's it. If you have a good culture, that means people believe and see what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. It becomes less about the paycheck and less about the hours, which is exactly why you would turn wrenches longer if you had to. That's just the way it is. Like this is exactly why I get up at 4 a.m. I'm like, all right, what do I got to do right now? Like what can I do to get ahead before my kids get up? So how to answer your question a little bit more fully, how I really try and acknowledge all the good things that happen, but at the same time, I try and just be demanding of excellence, and I give real-time feedback. It's the only way.
Mhm.
It's the only way. I mean, I was listening to Jesse Itzler the other day. He's a general manager of the the owner of the Atlanta Hawks, and he has like build your life resume. I mean, the dude's crazy. He said when it comes to one thing I learned about the NBA was it's better to trade players early than late. And this is one of those things. Like I'd rather give you the feedback and see if you could hang and see if you could adapt and understand that like part of our core values are operating with a sense of urgency. Like, dude, if you can't, you can't, like that says everything to me, right? Like a sense of urgency says everything I need to know. That's half the battle right there. So I try and balance it, but look, like if we're being honest, I could do so much better. I could do so much better. And I want to do better, but when you're making it, there's just you're pulled, self-inflicted in a lot of different directions, and it's easy to lose focus.
Well, I mean, to toot your horn, man, I think you're doing a great job. Anytime I see your people on LinkedIn or people that I've talked to that worked for you, they were happy. So, I mean, the fact that you even have the self-awareness that you want to do better, that in itself means a lot, even to your people. So,
Appreciate it.
keep your head up.
Appreciate it.
But I got a segue for you.
Hit it.
Nick, Mr. Crispy, that we know.
Yeah.
I saw a post back in the day where, so we know him. He actually used to do some videos for me, editing and stuff, and he worked for you. And he went on to a new job. But you were very. I wanted to commend you because you were very supportive in that. And I know it might have hurt, but you were still very supportive in that. And I saw a post where he might have got you something and. Like,
oh yeah. He got me a Chipotle gift card. He knows I love Chipotle. He got me a Chipotle gift card. I was like thrilled.
Yeah.
He got me one of those for Christmas.
It was like, and I thought that was just so sweet. Other than just the fact that, like, usually when people leave somewhere, they're just like, bye. I'm never gonna talk to none of y'all again.
Especially a freelancer.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that he, still he knew you enough and he was comfortable enough and he liked you enough that he did that in itself. That says a lot about you. Dude.
I just did a shoot in Jersey City. It's like it's easier to say in New York, you know what I mean? But it was in Jersey City. not sexy, but so we met there and I did a podcast and I hit him up. I'm like, hey man, I need you for a few hours. Can you come? He's like, yep. And it's good because that wouldn't happen if he had a negative experience. Like whether or not like he needs the money or anything like that. Like I don't think of it like that. Like I don't think like who could use money. I think
Right.
like who could help and who would want to help. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because when we first started, someone introduced us. He met me in New York for the first thing I was doing, and this was like a really big interview. And I was like, I don't want to touch a camera, I don't want to do anything. Like, I need someone else to do it, and he got it. So then he stuck with me for like another year and a half. I mean, shoot, man, like I can't even imagine how much he actually made, to be honest. Because at one point I was like, I don't even know what I'm gonna have for you next week, so we're gonna do a flat rate, and like it's just gonna be like kind of unlimited. So I had to make sure he was incentivized financially. But yeah, I mean, and he learned a lot, and I will tell you this about him. As time went on, his ability to receive feedback was like dramatically great. He's like, it won't happen again. Like it changed, right? Like it changed from excuses to it won't happen again. And I'm like, that's an improvement, right? Like that actually, I will say that did make me feel like there was impact.
Absolutely. I mean, that just speaks to your leadership capabilities, because to get someone else to have a certain level of awareness within themselves, like that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I wanted to ask you, you did touch on, one thing, but what do you have multiple values within your company or just?
Yeah, I want to, I'm looking because I don't want to forget anything, which sounds ridiculous, but
I got you.
accountability. Like I literally, we could just talk accountability like for the next however long. Like that is everything to me. Accountability, communication and teamwork, continuous improvement. Like, are you trying to get better? Like when you see something that's like, that could be better.
Mhm.
Do you say something, or do you at least be like, I tried this out. This actually works better. Like, I want to see what you think. I'll be like, thank you. Like that to me is like, wow, what can I get you? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
holy shit, like, thank you. That sense of urgency, and then that's it. Order and clarity, like having order and clarity. And these are all things that are the values that I still need to work on. These are not like, hey, this is what we represent. This is what we want to represent, right? All the time. Like you can't just say this is how it is, because you're going to find those gaps. Like you can never, it's not set in stone. It's more of a mindset. So your values are more of a mindset. Like, do you have the mindset to keep things in order and be clear? Do you have the mindset to have, accountability? Do you have the mindset to move with a sense of urgency? So those are the values, but accountability, it's number one for a reason, because what I just said, like I was floored when it just it went from excuses to it won't happen again to him making a checklist and be like, here's so I don't forget this and this. I'm like, okay. And we're talking about a young 20-something-year-old, never really had a real job. He's been freelancing. Like that's a big deal to me. So accountability is one of those things that sets people apart. And I don't mean blindly being accountable for something, but it means taking the risk of being accountable in the moment, even if you don't want to, and then allowing yourself to process and be like no shit, like what could I have done better?
Mhm.
How did I let them down? As someone who works underneath someone or laterally or whatever, like we were working together and we were peers, like my whole job is still to make your life easier. You might be in an upstream or downstream department, but my entire job should be to make your life easier. So if I let you down, like I need to just have that accountability, even if I'm like, damn, man, like she could have, like, that's not how you think. Like you always think of the rebuttal in your head, right? Like the rebuttal or the action that they could have, whatever. Like, no. And that's something Gary Vee like said to me straight up in person. Like, dude, he's like, if everything's your fault, you're gonna, and you're just optimistic about things and just like really on the offense in a good way, he goes, you will see your life change. And I'm still working on it. I'm always going to be a work in progress. I think you and I and like the people we know all are. But accountability is such a differentiator.
Absolutely.
It really is. Like I can't emphasize it enough.
And I think that if accountability is something like, even when you have a job wreck out, right? And this is the values within your company and accountability is up there, that's going to weed out people who don't want to be accountable.
100%.
And that's why I always like grind on people, like, and clients, like, listen, your values are something that should be so good that when you put that on a job rec, because that's a big part, onboarding people and hiring is a huge part of your work culture, because you can hire people that are going to ruin it, or you can hire people that are going to, elevate it.
Yep.
So you want to weed people out with your values. And that sounds almost counterintuitive, but it's not.
Yeah. Yes. It's a non-negotiable, right? Like if you make it a non-negotiable, like, the deal, especially in the military, if once there's an exception made, it's just kind of like, like, is it really, do we really care about this? Like, do we really need a PT 3 times a week? Like, you know what I mean? Like those kinds of things. So yeah, that's one of those things. And I think you're right. It is, you should make your rec like so specific that it's like the process of elimination is already kind of happening without even you having to do anything about it.
Exactly. Listen to that, people. I'm just saying I'm here to help you if you need that. Plug.
Yeah.
But one of the last questions I ask all CEOs on the show is, having a good work culture, what problem does that solve?
I think I kind of mentioned it before, and I really believe it. Well, no, you know what? I'll switch it because I don't want to be redundant in your show. Having a good work culture fosters a very tangible amount of respect across the teams and across, leader and lead and the people being led, those relationships. If you all have a good work culture where you prioritize how you operate, why you operate, and just fucking kicking ass on a daily basis, I truly believe what happens is the bar just starts to get raised. Like, and it's not something you like see, and it's not like, something you measure. And of course there's, KPIs for like stuff and like aspects of the business per department. But I mean, just the status, the standards start to just raise a little by little, because if the good work culture exists, that's when some of that accountability starts to happen, where I call you out and you are able to take it because you have self accountability. That's where if someone's moving slow and there's no sense of urgency, we kind of pick each other up. It's a high performing team thing. So a dynamic but thriving work culture will always take the business to the next level. You really want to see what good businesses are doing. I mean, you just got to look inside and be like, let me see how they're operating. You know what I mean? And you'll also be able to see those who will be around long term and those who will be around short term. Anyone could put it, drink 10 cups of coffee and put it on turbo and like crush for like a couple quarters a year.
Right.
But like, are you really like getting better and better and better? If you look anything like you did a year ago, and I say this about myself and our company as well, if we look anything like we looked a year ago, then we suck.
True.
Like, so yeah, and part of that is personnel and hiring and whatever. And it's, look, this didn't necessarily come up, but
I'm here for it.
Hire slow and fire fast, man. Like you don't have time. You don't have time. Like, you do not have time to bring on someone who interviews incredibly well and then all of a sudden be like,
trash.
What the hell? Like, this is not consistent.
No.
There are people who can interview really well, and then they come, and then next thing you know, you are losing productivity because you have to coach and coach and coach, and then you have to inspect what you expect, and then all of a sudden you're like in this thing where you're like, nothing's actually happening. Like nothing's actually, no ball is getting moved down the field because this person is not meeting expectations. They're not consistent with the values. They interviewed well. And this is actually going to be superbly cancerous to the culture. So just lose it. And I'm not saying don't give them a chance, but like, come on, man. Like, leaders, and I'm not trying to say like, oh, I'm a leader or whatever. I'm just saying like, I am in tune with my gut instinct, and holy shit. Like every time I go against it, especially when it comes to personnel.
Yeah. Gotta listen to your intuition, man, always.
I cannot even tell you. So yeah, work culture is just gonna literally make a company more sustainable because that company's standards are going to be elevated little by little incrementally, and they're just going to be a team of high performers who expect high performance out of each other, and that's
out
best
of,
case scenario.
out of each other. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. And um, you were just hitting on it. I'm not going to lose it. Going to grab it out the sky. My post today on LinkedIn actually literally said, it was Fun Fact Friday, and I said, you need to like fire people. Like if they don't vibe with your company, get rid of them. And I know that like there's a lot of people that want to play the everyone's gonna be nice on LinkedIn. No, I'm not playing this with you people. I'm gonna be straight up with you. If you want me to give you the truth, because one of my core values is not the Air Force one, but mine. One of them is integrity, but the other one is transparency. Like,
yes, love that.
With my clients, like I'm not gonna bullshit you.
Yeah.
You're gonna sit here and talk like me and Rich are talking right now. Like what, and if I see that this person after an employee survey or something, and everyone is dogging this person out, you need to get rid of them.
Yep.
You can, and I will say, yes, try to remedy it first. Okay, yes, I get that. You can try that tactic because, you know, there's laws and things of that nature for each state. I get that. But for the most part, you need to get rid of your trash.
Yeah. It needs to be said. I'm glad you say it. You know, I'm aligned with that. And, you know, the people who are unafraid to say those types of things that actually have an impact on both your top and bottom line, that's fine with me. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, like at least empathy, you know, like all these great words and all these other things. Like, look, just because you realize someone doesn't need to be part of your organization does not mean that you don't have those same soft skills.
Like, give them a mic, give them a bigger microphone. Yes.
I mean, like, it's just the way it is. Like, it doesn't mean you're absent of those qualities. Like, get out of here. No, I refuse to believe that.
Yeah, because great leaders know when to pull chocks on people. Like, period. Yes. Because they know that when it comes to a work culture, if you have this rotten tomato with all your happy apples, the apples are gonna rot too. Okay. Like whatever example I need to use there, you know. But
yeah, no, I love it.
Work culture matters. But Rich, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been every time. It's always so fun.
Thank you. No, thank you. And I mean, keep doing what you're doing. I'm lateral to you, and I'm just really, really proud of how you continue to grind. And I know at one point you need to take a break. We all need those breaks, but I'm glad you're back and taking names and continue to do your thing and let us know how we can support you.